Hello everyone and welcome to another video. This is my work bag and it's not really working for me. I bought it because it's big and had lots of pockets, but the trouble is inside it's really big and I'm just losing everything in a heap in the bottom of the bag. So I'm going to make myself a bag organiser, sort of an insert with lots of pockets to try and stop that from happening. Rather than buy a new bag, I've got the fabric, so it seems silly to buy a new bag when I can make something that works. So I've had a measure, just the seams at the bottom of the bag there. This is 5 inches. And when I allow space for my water bottle, I've got about 10 inches of space there, which should give me plenty of room for pockets of things I want to keep in the main compartment. So there's no pattern for this. I'm just going to make it up as I go. I'm just going to base it on 5 inches width and 10 inches length so that it'll fit inside. And here's what I'm going to use to make it. I've got some of this canvas, which as you can see is really sturdy. It's cream, which might get messed up, but I've got it. So I don't want to be buying anything new for making this with. And I just got a couple of fat quarters out of my fat quarter collection to make the pockets and things. So what I'm going to do is make my main pieces out of the canvas and the pockets and the lining from the fat quarters. So I'm going to need to cut a piece 5.5 by 10.5 for the base, and then cut 4 side pieces, and I'll make it in a box type shape, and then I'll worry about the lining. So here I am, having cut some pieces. I've cut 2 sides. They're 8 inches tall, 10 inches along. The bottom are 5.5 by 10.5 it should be. Yeah. And the sides, so it'll be constructed as a box. If you can see the base, one side, another side. So I have cut not all the lining pieces, because obviously the lining is where most of the pockets are going to be. So it needs to be split into 2 main pockets, and I've cut basically enough fabric to do that. But the second pocket is going to need to have multiple pockets in for things like my phone, my work badges, my inhaler. So I'm going to make half of the lining first and then stop and have a think about what pockets I need in the second half, because in the first half I know I need to keep my diary and my notebook, so that's just one big pocket. So I'm going to start the construction now. So the first thing I'm going to do is join my base of the outer of the organiser to the sides. So I've got them both narrow side pieces clipped onto the base like this, and I'm just going to join them. I would normally use my electric machine possibly in this circumstance, but I've got my Singer out, so I will use that. Now the thing with this hand crank is that it does not have a stitch tie off, so all you really need to do is just turn it around, go back over your stitches, turn it again and come back again. It's a palaver. Well, it's not too much of a palaver. That will make your stitch tie off just as good as an electric machine. Certainly plenty good enough for this. You know, it's going to have friction. It needs to be strong, and this will be strong enough. So just to finish it off again, you sew to where you want to stop, lift your needle, and just go back a few stitches in the other direction. Sometimes I just leave it at that, but this needs to be quite a strong finish, so I'll go back and then stitch straight off. And that I'm just going to do that to the other side, and then I'll start putting the large side pieces in. So here I am now, ready to put the first of my large sides in. You can see that I have it under the machine. I'm just about to turn and fasten the stitching the way I showed you before. And then turn it again until I get to the bottom corner. So you just go on down. There are a lot of corners to turn in this particular part, and on this canvas this will be where it's toughest to do that, but it's certainly not impossible. You just come down to where your stitching was, raise your needle and adjust your pieces around. That one will need to come through there like that. Pull that up, make sure that that is not catching. There we are. You need to just smooth that out of the way, and then you can lower your presser foot and go along your way for the long side. And you will go through the same process when we get to the other side. Sometimes, I mean, it doesn't matter, you can't open it out like this. It's a heavy canvas, so it's up to you how you want to treat it for your machine. These machines are very good for things like heavy canvas. So I'm here and I want to sort it out, so I make sure my needle is down again, lift my foot and do all the twisting and turning that I need to. Whatever your machine needs you to do, you just pull it through that way, make sure there's not a big lump there. You're pivoting it on the needle, which will help your stitches pivot through, and you can see that the ends meet. So you put your foot down and, oh, my thread broke. I'll re-thread and carry on with that. So here I am, machine re-threaded and most of the insert done. You can see that I've got 4 of the 5 pieces together. So I'm just going to follow the same process that I've just showed you for this next side. Pop it on there like that, and I'll come back. So here we are with the outside of the handbag organiser sewn together. You can see that this rigid canvas helps it to stand really well. You can see that I've got an easy lip for sewing the lining in, and I shall make the first half of the lining, which is going to approximately be half of the bag for diary and notebook. So this is going to slip in, stand in the bag, and really help me to separate things and stop that black hole at the bottom of my bag. So you can see there that it's quite rigid and strong. We don't have to worry about the raw edges on the inside because it's going to be lined, and the lining will be stitched here, so that will sew out this raw edge also, and that, when we do it, will also create a bit more rigidity because it will be folded in. So I'll get on with the lining now. So we are basically approaching this first bit of the lining, first half of the lining, in the same way. I've got my bottom and my narrow sides all clipped together, and I'll be stitching those together first. It's worth taking the time to just finish that. I could have got my electric machine out with its back stitch button, but this one was out already and I like using it, and it's good to use these things, it keeps them working. So there's the first end sewn, And I will now do the second. You could do this as one long strip, but my fabric just didn't want to cut that way. And it's okay to have the seams. I mean, it helps you with placement sometimes. So, but you do whatever your fabric will and what you've got the fabric for. I think that this is turning out to be quite a fabric. Oh, I forgot to do my end. I'll go back and do it. I think this is turning out to be quite a fabric heavy project. But, you know, some things need more than others. And when you've got a lot of pockets in a bag, it is the pockets that take the fabric. I just forgot to fasten off my stitching there, so I just went back and stitched it twice really. So there's the bottom and sides of my first pockets. So now I'm going to do exactly the same as I did previously. Line up the side pieces. You can pin all this. I just haven't bothered to line up my side pieces in the same way. Remember to fasten off like I didn't just a minute ago. Just turn and go back over that stitching. And then we get down to the end. And we're going to pivot in exactly the same way we did before. We're going to come to where we need to turn, leave our needle down, lift our foot, and manipulate the fabric into the correct turn that we want. There we go. Got our bits lined up and off we go. It really is a case of telling your fabric what you want to do. You can pin it if you want to. I just haven't. And here, just need to go slightly shorter this side. I'm not sure why, but there we go. I must have mismeasured a piece, but that will work out just fine. And tell your fabric where you want it to go. Push that bottom piece out and you will get a neat turn in there. Oh yes, I can see where I cut with. There we are. And to finish off, we'll do that turn again. Obviously, if you're using your electric machine with your backstitch button, you won't need to do this. It's only because I'm using this old lady. Because it's nice to. I don't actually think it takes much longer. Anyway, so there we are. As you can see, similar to the main bag, first pocket just now needs this side put on, which I'm now going to do. So here we are, I've finished sewing the lining. I've just clipped it in so you can sort of see where we're going. I've put my diary and notepad in there so you can just see where we're going. So that's half the lining, and we're going to make another half here with other pockets, just so you can see where we're heading. So, and all I need to do for that is to measure my pockets out, but they will go on this other facing piece. So it's the lining piece that I'm going to concentrate on constructing, the second lining piece that I'm going to concentrate on constructing now. I'm not going to change any more on this bag. You could put pockets on this narrower side when you're sewing it together, but I specifically didn't want this for this bag because I'm taking things in and out all the time. I thought if I'm lifting things in and out of there all the time, other things are going to get knocked from in my bag. So, but that, you know, that you could have, if you needed it, a phone pocket or something on that side. But these things are very useful, but obviously they're most useful when they're made to suit your need. There we go. So I will get on with the other pocket and I will show you as it's going. So here's how I'm working out my pockets. I've literally got the things that I need to fit in. I'm wrapping the fabric over and pinning them down to make pockets that are big enough for the things I need. And I will do this on both sides. Once it's pinned, I just take the items out and stitch up along these areas. And then down here, when it comes to stitching the base, just need to pin a neat gather for these thicker pockets, for these pockets that need to be more 3D, so that the things will pop down in. So you just need to make a little gather when you do that, but I'll show you that when we get there. I should also have said that this is a strip of fabric doubled, so I don't need to make a lining for it because it's literally going to line itself. So this end is sewn in. Now I just need to come to where my pins are, make sure all the pocket that I need is pulled up and out of the way, line up my machine with the pin, take the pin out, don't want to sew over it, make my stitches. Very important on the edges of pockets to make sure that you have back stitched. I'm just going to take that down and I know now that that pocket, that one won't need to be back stitched because it will be stitched into the base. But now I know that I've measured that pocket around it, it will be big enough for my spacer for my inhaler, and my inhaler in this pocket will be right next to it because I'm forever rummaging in my bag for that flipping thing, and you really don't want to delay when you need that. So I'm just gonna again do my back stitching there. And come down, and I know that that pocket will fit my inhaler. And now I'm going to just stitch this other end, which to be fair would catch when you're stitching the lining in, but it really just needs to act as tacking for now, so I won't bother to back stitch this or anything because I just need to make sure that it's in place, sort of in a temporary, as a temporary measure until the final stitching is done for this bit. So I'm going to stitch really close to the edge so it doesn't get caught up in any of my seam allowance, so it's in the seam allowance really. Now that that half is done, I can trim. I've got my pockets for the items I need. I know that they fit in there. So now I can trim that up and put my bottom and edges onto this first piece. So here I am with the first part of the inner side sewn on, as you can see there. And I said I would show you how to gather these pockets at the bottom to make sure that it doesn't all get squashed out where you don't want it. So if you can see, there is our open pocket bottom. All I'm going to do is run my thumbs to the center of the pocket and pinch there, and you get a pleat. Do you see that? If I go along and pinch it there, and then I just need to press that flat, and that will be my pocket with the pleat in so that it's roomy enough for my spacer. So it's just making a pleat in each pocket as you go along, and then you can just pin the bottom on. I need to lie down to do it. I can't let go. Let's pop a pin in there and then I can do it. Pin 2. So then you can take your bottom part, same as we did before, kick it out, turn it around the corner. You've got your line for stitching. Need a little trim up after, but that's all. So that's how to make your pockets nice and roomy. So I just wanted to show you again how I'm making my roomier pockets. I've done one here for my work ID, which obviously I'm not going to show you. And so here I need one for my glasses case. So I pop my glasses case up to the pins for the last pocket, fold it over. You've got to keep the back flat because that lining will fit in the bag organiser. So then I'm just wrapping it around so I know there's enough room and pinning a little distance away like that. And then there's no room to make another bulky pocket, so I'll just pin this to the end so I can tack it as I did previously. There we are. So now I just stitch these down as I did previously. So here we are now with 2 halves of the lining completed, but we need to join them before we can insert them into the organiser. So in order to do that, we need to turn them. This looks a bit strange because it is inside out for them, because they're designed to be the other way around, but we need to get the 2 side pieces that we're going to join. We need to join them right sides together. It does look a bit counterintuitive, but if you forget the rest and just look at that inside bit, that is now right sides together. So some clips will help here because there are a lot of edges to consider, and you literally only want to sew from here to here on the mid bit. None of this side is included, it's just this mid section to be sewn. So I will do that and I'll be back. So here we are. The 2 lining pieces are joined, you can see there. So all we need to do now is turn them back through to the way they are intended to be used. And you'll see that they're joined neatly in the middle, like that. So while it was a bit counterintuitive, there's the join. While it was a bit counterintuitive, it works out. This can always be top stitched if you want to, whatever you want to do with that. I may top stitch it later. So now the lining can go in the outer. And it's time to stitch it in. So here we are, ready to sew the lining into the bag. And all I've done is fold a piece of the outer down, fold a piece of the lining down, pull them together and pop my clips on. So I'm going to top stitch this in. Normally I would insert the lining inside out and pull it through, but this just isn't practical in this case. There will be a weak point here and here, but all I will do is go back and give that a good hand stitch, as well as the machine stitch to double check. And I will also be taking a long needle and pushing it right into the corners and putting a good stitch in each corner to make sure it holds down in the bottom as well, and probably top stitching this. So I will do that and I will come back and show you. I think my best advice when you're doing this is to go slowly, and that is where a hand crank machine shines. Thick fabrics needing to be sewn slowly. And so here we are. Here's the finished handbag organiser, all top stitched in and ready to be packed for work. Should be useful and hopefully help me stop losing things. Oh, there's a thread there I didn't catch. Always a thread. So a fairly quick, pretty straightforward make. Quite fabric heavy. It would be a nice thing to make as a present, but I think it's something that's quite a specific need for people. So I do wonder if you would get the perfect one for someone. But I think if I was making it as a gift, I'd probably make it from a pattern and not make it up like this. Okay, well, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe.